So nice. Para mis amigos de habla España, Dr. Wong, un placer. Okay, so what can I tell you? My care, we joined them recently, almost a year or so, a year and a half already. Great organization. We are growing very, very much, very well. I believe we have 32 clinics now. Okay, so the standard of care for us has been always to make sure that our patients, number one, enjoy themselves, keep them healthy, because that's what life is all about, having fun. Okay, so our job is to make sure that you get your health, because if you have your health, you have hope. If you have hope, you have everything. Okay, so the key is to keep you healthier, dancing, and our job is to make sure that our patient gets the right treatment. Okay, and we have a staff here that we have Dr. Wong is coming soon to say hello to you, hopefully. We have Dr. Fagundes, we have excellent physician assistants as well. Okay, so I myself been in medical practice for 30 years already, even though I might look 18, but you know, so I graduated young, so what can I tell you? Medicine has been my passion. I teach in addition to see my patients. I'm also very involved in the Broward County Medical Association, which represents a 93 years tradition. This year, I am going to be the president as well. So my job is to make sure that the government provide affordable and accessible health care for all of us. So I'm fighting every day to make sure that the rules and regulations always stand for patients and doctors to make sure that we protect our patients. With that said, you know, we have gone through some craziness with the COVID. Still is. Not as bad, but don't let your guard down. Still in other parts of the world, a very devastating crisis. The key is not when you're going to get it. The key is how your body's going to react when you get it. And for those of us who live in a country like this, that we have the ability, okay, or the vaccine that other countries don't. Believe it or not, they still don't have that ability. And that to me is a blessing to be here, because we have it. So if you don't get it, you should consider it, okay? I know there's also a lot of bad news out there about misconceptions about what exactly is the vaccine, is it healthy, not healthy, why is it so early? I mean, we can go into many hours talking about it. In reality, I think all these studies so far we have injected almost over 3 billion doses. B with a billion, okay? And the amount of negative things that we got is so small that it's almost worthless when we talk about it. But there are still some people out there giving wrong information. So rely on real sources, and just don't just go ahead on the computers and look at Google and things like that, okay? Because a lot of information that we see in the internet are not filtered. So everybody, you can put tomorrow anything you want there. You can say that garlic can cure blindness, and it goes in there. And there's some people who believe that. All right, so don't get it, be informed. Okay, so that's one other thing. I know that this is not a medical talk, so I'm not going to talk to you about many things, okay? But the most important in anyone's selectivity when you choose any managed care program, okay, the most important is find the team that will best serve you. Okay, that's number one. Because the captain of your boat is you. You guys are ultimately every medication that we give to you. Remember in medicine, Medicine, not everyone fits the same. Okay? I can give you medication for the same reason for you, and for you for the same problem. You may have wonderful benefit, but you may have bad side effects. You don't tell us about that, we don't know. We cannot read mind. So one of the things that I have been doing for the past 12, 13 years is that medicine, unfortunately, today versus, I would say, 15 years ago, there's one big difference. We can do more. No question about that. Medicine now has developed a sense where we can have treatment for almost everything and people live longer because of it. But because of this complexity, it's also very dangerous. In the old days, it was more simple. But now, it's more complex. So, be careful with medication that you take. A lot of these medications that we used to write in the old days is all over the counter. You can buy Prilosec over the counter. You can buy Zyrtec over the counter. Claritine, Zantac, you know, all these medications, go to Costco, CVS, you see them all in the counter that used to be prescribed. Right? So that's exactly another problem that we see. There's other bad thing about people thinking is that there are a lot of medications over the counter that's, oh, if it's over the counter, it's not gonna affect me. Wrong, wrong, and wrong, right? It does affect you because it can interact with the other medication. Okay, so be careful about that. When you look at the different parts of your system, okay, when you're 20 years old versus 40 years of age versus 60 and 80, there's different transformation changes inside your major organs. Functionality, your bones are not as strong as before. Your organs that eliminate this poison, which is kidneys and liver, are not going to be working the same way. The same food that you've been eating 20 years ago may be more harmful to you now. So all of this, we must adapt to these changes. So the drug that you've been taking for 5 years for blood pressure, you might need to talk to the doctor. Is my kidney strong enough to sustain the same dosage, or can we just minimize it a little? Just the same way that when we give medication to little kids, we ask, what is the weight of that patient? Because we need to adjust the milligrams, the dosage based on the weight of that individual, right? As you get older, your fat that you have begins to redistribute. Your skin gets thinner, so things evaporate. So there's not many ways that you get rid of poison. When we get rid of it by peeing it out, so we must know that our kidney has to be working good. And there's a lot of medications that affect the kidney, especially those medications that we use for pain relief. Advil, Aleve, that's over-the-counter medication. Those are killing your kidneys. If your blood pressure is not well controlled, that is killing your kidneys too. So you have to tell what is the ideal blood pressure for you guys. The other thing I see a lot is a lot of what they call polypharmacy. Polypharmacy means that you take more than one medication because all of them goes to the filter to your liver. And the more things that you put through that filter, even the food that we eat, remember the food that we eat is not the food that you guys buy someplace else, it's all processed food. All those are chemicals to make it look good, to last long, it's called processed chemicals. All those chemicals go to the filter. And there's a system known as the P450. I mean to remember that, but it's a small selective filter where things get broken down so that some of the poisons can be eliminated. So we eliminate it by sweat that gets affected because as you get older, your skin gets thinner, and that means things evaporate faster. Okay? So when you see wrinkles on your skin, it's because you have lost fat underneath. That's why you see a little baby and I see those skin is so nice and smooth because it's all fat. As we get older, the fat gets thinner and thins out. Okay, and when that causes the skin to look very wrinkled and pretty. And that eliminates, evaporates faster. So everybody on the age of 50 and higher, we're all at risk of dehydration. Sitting in here, I can tell you that if I measure your real volume, we're 30% dehydrated. So two things happens no matter what. As we age, the thirst, the ability to make sure that you drink is gone. So a lot of us at this age don't feel like drinking any more fluids.
On that note, doctor will bring in water.
That's exactly correct. They're in the habit of drinking a lot of water, but be careful when I'm talking about gallons of water. Because once you start drinking gallons of water, then there's something called hyponatremia that happens. Your sodium in your brain gets swollen to the point that you can die from that. So don't go nuts about, I lose weight by drinking gallons of water. So everything reserved. How much water should you drink? Well, 8 ounces with a glass. Thank you very much. That's nice. Drink about 6 of them a day. That's sufficient. A lot of you guys that take blood pressure medication, there's some agent called diuretics, which is water pill. You get rid of the salt intake. And a lot of you guys have that. And when you do that, you are on top of being dehydrated, you can get it worse. So what I'm asking you is just be careful of the medication. Whenever you see another doctor, and the first thing that you ever meet any doctors, if you take a medication, just put all your medication on back. Just bring it to us to see. I see another challenge here now. You see the pharmacist that used to the old day just dedicate himself or herself to dispense medication. Guess what that poor guy is doing or that guy is doing now as a pharmacist? They give more injection because now, if you work for any CVS pharmacy and all that, your duty in addition to look at these medications, you have to be injecting and these vaccines. So there's another problem. They don't have the time to look at that. So if you ever see a medication that doesn't look the same or something, question that. Look at what you put in your mouth. And I see a lot of people getting medication that look alike, that sounds alike, but they're totally for 2 different reasons. And they get into trouble.
I had a problem with that before, whereby I picked up a medication at the pharmacist, and it looked different, and I questioned it with him, and he said it's a different manufacturer, it's the same drug.
Well, at least you can. You're correct. There are some manufacturers, right? But different color means different dosages to some. It might be different. Even if a different manufacturer may not be the same that your body can tolerate because they're all composed of chemicals. There's a stabilizer that they use, okay? So, again, if at least you notice different, kudos for you. It should be at least, hey, this looks different. Put it into their burden. Remember, whenever you pick up medication, you sign some piece of paper. You don't know what it says, right? But it basically says that you are responsible and you know all the side effects of it. Sometimes we write a medication, and then when it ends up to the pharmacy, they say, well, Dr. Wong gave me this medication, of course, an arm and a leg versus this one here, that is pennies, and which one do you want? Let me try the one on the pennies. And then they make you sign that you have agreed to that change. So it has given the consumers, the patient, the ability to make your own decisions, right? But sometimes we choose certain medication because it has less interference with what other things do. So make it a habit. Just bring all your medications with you. Okay, good. And before any doctors to give you another medication, it's time out. Which one do you take off? And you'll be amazed because the very doctors are very busy, there are too many things, especially specialists, We go to a specialist and they say, you see a heart doctor. Do you think he cares about your kidney problem? Just let me see your pulse, and I care. And then they realize that if I would have known you take this medication, I'd probably change to a different one or change the dosages, right? But you don't have the time. But if you come on and tell us this, a couple of things come to me. This gentleman cares about that. Okay, so I take my time, I have to sit down and explain what I'm doing to you. Because I believe that if you're educated, you're more engaged. And if you're engaged, then we all understand what we're doing. So please be engaged, okay?
With the kikiriki.
Questions, ask. No one is gonna say, the only dumb questions that you don't ask are the one that ends up in the ICU. Okay? So I tell you, all my students, ask the questions, because whatever you have to ask, it's a different perception. So that's one thing that I see. Always see doctors and bring all your medications with you. And then the next thing you ask is, how long do I take this medication? What are you doing it for? And how long am I going to be on this medication?
He's a smooth talker.
If they do not
Smooth talker.
have,
That's a song.
if they do not have, it's okay. If they do not have a good answer for you, get a second opinion. Okay? You're entitled to it. All right? Because we're all humans. We
Your boss
can.
knows exactly what you do.
Well,
Has bad boo-boo back there.
we all have issues, okay? The other thing I want to ask you is, a lot of these tests that doctors do, remember, we ask them sometimes because we don't have the results in front of us, right? And we always ask the patient to do it again. What you don't have to understand is that every time you do some of these tests like CAT scan, you know how much radiation you're getting? All right? Just to give you an example, we don't go to the sun and expose ourselves because we all know that radiation can give you cancer in the skin. All right, there's a statistic that said that you live in Florida for more than 50 years and you're blonde with blue eyes, the chance of you getting some type of skin cancer is about the high 50%. Just being outside, okay? So this handsome guy here, look at all these little skin lesions there. It could be some precancerous lesions. I'm not saying that you okay. But we all have that coming. Aging causes cancer because cancer is just the discontrol of the growth of the cell. And as we and the immune system is the one that keeps all of this in check. So if nothing else, keep your immune system intact. Keep it good. Because that's the only protective way that you have. We have killer cells in the immune system that makes us really, really protective against anything. The problem is that as we age, like anything else, it goes down. But other things that causes the immune system to go down is lack of sleep, inflammation. So inflammation is the root of all evil for us. And what causes inflammation? All this stress that we face every day. All right? You turn the CNN and watch the news, the Russians are, oh my God, that stress levels up. Inflation, housing effect, I don't have enough money, all that good stuff creates a lot of inflammation. So inflammation is the cause of all these things. COVID gets into you, it depends how much of this virus gets into you, but guess what happened? Your body wants to attack it back, fight back. And when you fight back, there's always inflammation. The more virus you have, the higher the level of inflammation. So what happens to inflammation is, it causes the plaques to break off. And the next thing you know, when you break off the big pipe that you have, the aorta, no big deal. But when we get to the small pipes in the eyes, and the brain and the heart, they get stuck.
Thank you.
And you have 3 hours to get to a station to unclog it. Otherwise, you'll have big problems. Okay? So, how do we build the immune system? Rest, rest, and rest. So the more you rest, the more relaxed you are, the more dopamine like this is an exciting thing, the more you laugh. All of this create an environment of de-inflammatory. Okay, de-inflammation. So, eating the right food. All right, the thing that God gave you, as long as it's not processed, the more colorful the fruits are, or the veggies are, the more beneficial it is to you. Now we have data, and we're all going to suffer that eventually, but we have data right now that we will measure the amount of inflammation that you have in your brain to predict how much or what are your chances of developing Alzheimer's. That's coming out, okay? So we can measure first if you have the genetic gene, the ApoE4 enzyme that gives you a chance of developing Alzheimer's. So if you have that because it comes from from the genetics of mom and dad, if you have that, then you have a higher chance. Then we can measure the number of plaques that you can form. So once we do that, it's like cholesterol. If we measure it and we're able to control it, chances of developing Alzheimer's will be less. And these are the exciting things that are coming down, right? In medicine overall. So take a message. I mean, I can go on, no, for many hours, but I'm not gonna go through that. What I'm telling you is that there are actually 5, if you look in past 30 years, you could tell me what's the advancement of medicine, what can you basically say that can help us live longer with less chance of having stroke, heart attack, right? Which are the number 1, 2 killers, right? And minimize cancer and all that stuff. There are 7 items actually that you have to keep an eye on. 2 chemicals, right? 2 chemicals, glucose, which is sugar, and cholesterol. Keep them as low as you can. And we have a lot of things to do that.
Yeah, I can hear you.
2 physicals, okay? 2 physicals is how much you weigh, which is your body weight. The skinnier you are, the longer you're gonna live. And the blood pressure, the lower you keep it, the best you're gonna be. And 3 are behaviors. So you smoke, stop smoking.
I know he's stirring the pot, but I like
2,
this because I want these ladies.
if you have, what you eat matters, when you eat matters, and how much you eat matters. So it's beating, this you can control. And last is get your booty out of your chair and start moving. It's activities. All right, engage. This activity you have is really helpful for your brain. Human beings cannot be isolated. COVID for the past 2.5 years have isolated a lot, and depression and all this bad thing has happened. When human beings get together and you talk about things, everything corrects. So it's good for you to create groups, enjoy new activities, and stop listening to me. I'm done. Thank you.